Hello there, this is Bill McKibben. Let me try to explain for a minute, if I can, the kind of urgency that we're facing as we deal with this question of climate. It's the biggest problem that human beings have ever come across. I wrote the first book about it for a general audience more than 2 decades ago in 1989. And at that time we knew most of what we needed to know. We knew that when you burned coal and gas and oil, you put carbon into the atmosphere. And we knew that the molecular structure of carbon trapped heat that would otherwise radiate back out to space. The only thing we didn't know was how fast this was going to pinch and how hard. And the story of the last 20 years, unfortunately, is that it's pinching a lot faster and a lot harder than we had suspected. Take, for example, the last couple of years. 2010 was the warmest year for which we have records. 19 nations set new all-time temperature records. Some of them were off the charts. We were talking one day with our 350.org crew in Pakistan, and one of them mentioned that it was hot, and I was surprised to hear him say that because it's always hot in Pakistan in the summer. He said, no, it's really hot. We just set the new all-time Asia temperature record, 129 degrees. That kind of heat obviously causes big things to start to happen. For instance, the Arctic is melting at an enormously rapid rate. But it's also things very close to home. Place after place after place now is seeing enormous swings in extreme weather. And the reason for that is this extra heat that we've put into the atmosphere. It does many things. One of them is that warm air holds more water vapor than cold. As a result, the atmosphere is it's about 4 or 5% moister than it was 40 years ago, which is a huge change in a basic physical phenomenon. It loads the dice for both drought in arid areas, and because once that water's up in the air, it's going to come down, it loads the dice for deluge and downpour and flood, and that is what we are seeing place after place after place, including, of course, the U.S., where we saw absolutely epic flooding in 2011 in the Mississippi and the Missouri and many, many other watersheds. The bad news, the really bad news, is that everything I've described happens when you raise the temperature of the planet about 1 degree. The scientists are pretty clear that unless we get our act together quickly, and by getting our act together I mean getting off coal and gas and oil much more quickly than we're planning to at the moment, the temperature will go up not 1 degree but 4 or 5 degrees before the century is out. If 1 degree is enough to melt the Arctic, we do not want to find out what 4 or 5 degrees will do, especially since every prediction that we can make is grim and dangerous. Among other things, basic food production is likely to plummet because crops too are used to the world that they evolved on. Doing something about this is hard. Getting off coal and gas and oil is hard. It's hard because we're all used to using it. It's hard because it's the easiest route out of poverty for poor nations. It's hard most of all because it's well defended by the most profitable enterprise on earth, the fossil fuel industry, whose lobby so far has been able to block any real change. We're never going to have as much money as the fossil fuel industry, so we're going to have to find another currency to work in, and that currency is bodies and spirit and creativity. That's why we need you joining us at 350.org. In the last couple of years, we've demonstrated that there's real possibility that a movement can emerge, even a movement based around a wonky scientific data point like 350 parts per million CO2, which our scientists tell us is the most carbon we can safely have in the atmosphere, a number, sadly, that we're already past and need quickly to get back to. We've been able, using that number, to organize people in every country on Earth except North Korea. Our last big day of global action had 7,400 actions in 189 countries. CNN called it the most widespread day of political action in the planet's history. It's not yet enough to win this fight, but we need to make it big enough that we really can prevail, and soon. So we hope that you will join us at 350.org and join in the effort for a quick conversion to a renewable energy economy, the kind that we desperately need if we're going to avoid the kind of sadness and tough tough, tough weather that we've seen in these last few years. Thank you very, very much.